Let's move on to the NFL. And I know that you and I have wanted to get away from the NFL because, hey, the season's over and all that, but the offseason has been kind of intriguing to me. And I feel like you and I will have a great discussion about Lamar Jackson because he has been probably the thing that's been in the news the most in terms of the NFL. And I find this situation so intriguing for so many reasons. So if you're listening and you don't know what we're talking about, Lamar Jackson, I believe it was the non-exclusive tender or non-exclusive franchise tag or whatever it's called that the Ravens put on him, and he can be offered offers from other teams, and the Ravens have the ability to match it. Thus far, 0 teams have offered Lamar Jackson a contract, and I just find all of this fascinating. The Ravens are in no hurry to sign him. No other team is in any hurry to do the work for the Ravens, as has been reported by a lot of different people. And dude, you know how many teams could use a friggin' quarterback right now?
Oh, a ton. A metric shit ton of teams could use a quarterback right now. But I'm going to have a very unpopular take on this. From purely a business standpoint, I agree with what the Ravens are doing. I don't blame them for what they're doing one bit because, and I think the proof is in the pudding. The fact that no one else has even offered a contract at this point in time. Now, from a human perspective, looking at what Lamar Jackson has done for them and how hard the guy plays and seems like a pretty good dude, it sucks, yes, because he's only got this small window of time to make his money and try to put himself in a position to live the rest of his life comfortably. But the NFL is a business, and the Baltimore Ravens are a business, and I think they are making the right business decision in the way they're handling this.
The funny part about this is that the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are both doing what they should be doing. Like, I don't begrudge either side for doing what they're doing. Lamar Jackson should try to get as much money as possible, as soon as possible, and the Ravens should not break the bank to try to basically make sure that they keep him. Now, I think the funny part about all of this, and not funny, haha, is Deshaun Watson is the reason that all of this is happening, because the Cleveland Browns were stupid enough to give him $240 million fully guaranteed. He hadn't played in the league for 2 years, everything that came with him, the circus that came with him. And Lamar Jackson is now in a position where he may not get paid because he's looking at the market and saying, I want what that guy got because look at all the playing that I've done. And I know he's been injured and all that. And the narrative about his off-the-field stuff, if you had concerns about that, why did you draft the guy? Like, I'm kind of not here for that. But the business element of it, Lamar should be asking them for that, and the Ravens shouldn't be giving him that because the market shouldn't be reset by the Browns doing something really stupid. But in a lot of ways it has, because Daniel Jones just got $40 million a year.
Yeah, it's insane how every year a quarterback gets signed to the newest, largest contract, resets the market, and then everyone else wants to be paid relevant to whatever that number was, and it just creates this vicious cycle. I'm telling you right now, the NFL, I think the game is changing, and this stinks because Lamar Jackson's probably like 5 to 10 years ahead of where he could really be even more beneficial to a team. I think the game's changing a little bit, and that quarterbacks are going to become similar, not the same, because it won't be by committee, but similar to running backs. I think they're going to have shorter shelf lives, and you're going to have more quarterbacks who are capable of coming in and winning football games, like we saw with the 49ers, for example. I think you may see more situations like that where teams are going to have other capable guys. I think you're going to see fewer of the traditional franchise quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers and guys like that stay with the team forever. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I just think that you're going to see quarterback, maybe not, but quarterback salaries may start to come down a little bit because they realize you don't have to have some sort of generational talent to be successful. And it may be a deal where the system supersedes the talent.
I don't know, man. Like, the way that economics in sports continues to work is these salaries just keep going up and up. If you look at what Daniel Jones just got, $40 million roughly, not guaranteed, but $40 million per. Patrick Mahomes goes into the Chiefs' office with both of his rings on and slides the paper over and said, your move. Because basically that's what should happen. Like, if he's not making that much money, can you imagine what he's worth?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's unbelievable. And in regards to the Chiefs, I saw something the other day that talked about how their GM is handling things masterfully, and they're sort of taking a page out of the Patriots playbook. And someone put it very eloquently. They said the Chiefs now know as a franchise that they're a destination. They are known, they're on a roll right now. They're in a good place. You have to pay a tax to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. in the form of taking less salary so that they can keep more talent together to keep winning. And that was a really interesting way to put it, I thought. And it'll be interesting to see if they're able to kind of sustain it.
I agree. You have to get creative with your accounting. So they're going to be hiring a lot of CPAs. If you're a CPA out there listening, you might want to get your application into the Kansas City Chiefs because they're going to need it in trying to battle the salary cap. But Coach, I just want to give you this. This is not a stat of the week, but this is what $40 million bought the New York Football Giants. And this is from Warren Sharp on Twitter. Daniel Jones is the only quarterback in the modern passing era to play 10-plus games for 3 consecutive years and throw fewer touchdowns than games played every year. In 2020, 14 games played, 11 touchdowns. In 2021, 11 games played, 10 touchdowns. And last year, a year that we said he massively improved, 16 games played, 15 passing touchdowns.
He's the new Kirk Cousins, man. That's who he is.
Could be dangerous if in the right system.
He may be in the running next year for the DB Cooper Award. It's absolutely unreal what people are willing to pay just for consistency, even, right? I mean, because the guy's not putting up dynamic numbers, as you just indicated. I think that people are just terrified of what they may end up with if they don't keep what they have.
But here's go ahead. I was going to say, the thing about the Ravens, though, is shouldn't other teams that want Lamar Jackson put an offer to try to raise the price for the Ravens because they can match it? So they're probably going to match it because I think they do want to keep him. And doesn't that screw them over financially?
Yeah, you'd think so, but maybe they're concerned that the Ravens will call their bluff and then they'll have Lamar Jackson for whatever crazy number they offer him.
But they want him, though. Like I'm just so baffled that these teams, like the Carolina Panthers, just traded everything to get the number 1 pick. Now, basically, they traded away what they probably would have had to give up for Lamar Jackson or whatever. But it's mind-blowing to me. The Panthers could have just signed Lamar Jackson. Instead, they're going to go on a rookie deal. They're going to take a chance on a guy like Anthony Richardson, probably, sign him to a rookie deal, and just hope and pray that it works out when there's a guy that you can have if you just pay him the money. I just don't get it. There's so many teams out there that should be just ponying up the dough for this guy at this point. If the Ravens aren't going to do it, make it hard on the Ravens at least.
Sure, and maybe there's something that we don't know. I'm not sure, but I can tell you this much. Like, as a Colts fan, as the team that needs a quarterback, I don't know if I'd be super ecstatic if they ended up with Lamar Jackson. Just because, again, it feels almost like another Band-Aid. Now, it's a Band-Aid with a few more miles on it than the last couple of guys. But it just, and yes, everyone's one play away. But just because the way he plays the game is explosive and dynamic and it's hard to defend, but it's also dangerous and risky. And I don't know that if I'm the Colts, I don't know if you could afford to take that risk.
So you're not going to take the risk on Lamar Jackson because it's too volatile, but you're going to sign Carson Wentz. I just want to make sure we're on the same boat here.
Too. Just so you know, that's terrible too. I'm not a fan of that movie either at all. I saw that.
Matt Ryan.
At least it's not Zach Wilson.
Speaking of Zach Wilson is probably wondering what he's going to be doing next year. He's either going to be working at the local supermarket or holding a clipboard because Mike White is now a Miami Dolphin, and the Jets are all in on getting Aaron Rodgers, which puts them in a very precarious position because free agency opens today, and all these quarterbacks are going to get signed. Jimmy Garoppolo now to the Raiders, and they're just hoping and praying. They have a deal in place with the Packers, and the Jets, all of their chips are in on Aaron Rodgers. And I feel like the Jets are the kind of team where Aaron Rodgers is just going to decide to retire.
I don't know if he'll do that, but I could see it being a pretty entertaining situation because he's not going to get the leash that he got in Green Bay with his attitude and his demeanor. I don't know if New York's going to put up with that the way they did in Green Bay. So it'll be really interesting to see what takes place if, in fact, he does end up there. I mean, I guess the Jets think they're a quarterback away, and so they're going to rent Aaron Rodgers for a few years and see what happens.
I'm not sure it's a good fit. And Cleve would tell you that too. Like, I don't think it's a good personality fit because New York is not really a market in which you can go do darkness retreats when things don't work out. They want results. I mean, man, they were calling for Tim Tebow when Mark Sanchez couldn't get it done after the butt fumble game, and that guy went to 2 AFC championship games in a row. This fan base is salivating for something, and all we've gotten is not just mediocrity, but just laughingstock of the league. And Aaron Rodgers really doesn't play well with rookies and young guys. That is an extremely young team. There's not a lot of veterans on that team. Do you really see Aaron Rodgers coming in and not just being a diva?
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think I agree. I think it's a bad fit. And especially with a young head coach, Aaron Rodgers and young head coach, or just young people in general, don't strike me as a recipe for success. I think he could be successful with like an Andy Reid type guy, which obviously they're pretty well set at the quarterback position. But I think if he played for a veteran coach that's been around the block, Rodgers seems like the type of guy that respects those people, and is more open-minded to that, as opposed to like a Matt LaFleur. Like, from the day that Matt LaFleur walked in the door, I imagined it like Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec when he's at the hardware store and the guy walks up and he goes, "I know more than you." I imagine that's what happened in the offices at Green Bay when Matt LaFleur walked in to introduce himself to Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know. Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that he cares as much about winning football games and Super Bowls as the Jets fandom wants him to. And they're going to have to give up, I assume, a lot to get him because Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He's going to walk into Canton as soon as he is eligible. And the Jets, I feel like, are in such a bad position because if they don't get him, they are so screwed.
Yeah, they've got to make a move because, Zach Wilson's not the answer. And it would be interesting to see who they have to settle for if they're not able to land Rodgers.
I would have taken 5 years of Derek Carr over a hope and a prayer on 2 years of Aaron Rodgers because at least you get 5 solid. I mean, I know that Derek Carr is not a great quarterback. I get it, but he's a solid quarterback. He's definitely an improvement over what they've been slopping out there the last few years. And with a young team, you got a guy who's a great locker room presence, gets along with a lot of guys, seemingly well-liked across the entire league. You get 5 years of that, and you might get a Super Bowl or a deep playoff run. And yeah, maybe you don't win the Super Bowl, but the Jets have to be salivating for just about anything at this point.
Think about the list. I'm sitting here in my head just running through the list of people who have played quarterback for the New York Jets over the last 10 to 15 years.
Oh, it's a lot.
Right? I had forgotten about a few of them, to be honest with you. But yeah, Geno Smith played quarterback there. We had you had Tebow, Mark Sanchez, like you mentioned, Brett Favre, Joe Flacco, Ryan Fitzpatrick,
yes,
I believe at one point in time. I mean, it's just absolutely insane, right? I mean, Chad Pennington was probably the last consistent, solid quarterback that they have had.
And they drafted him. Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, did they draft any of these other guys up to? Did they draft Geno?
Yes,
they may have drafted Geno. And they drafted Zach Wilson.
Yes. And they drafted Mark Sanchez. Now, Mark Sanchez had an opportunity to be good, but I think Rex Ryan got in the way of that. I mean, their formula for that was good defense, and Mark Sanchez didn't have to do a whole lot, and they just messed that up. But that organization can't seem to get it right, and I'm waiting for Aaron Rodgers to retire so that Jets fandom are like, well, what do we do now? Because we just kind of put all of our eggs in this basket, and we hired this buffoon, Nathaniel Hackett, as our offensive coordinator.
Yeah, can you imagine the conversations that are happening on the streets of New York or in a cab, or these guys are going into work in the morning, where I'm talking blue collar guys, right? Going into work in the morning and be like, here we're getting Rodgers.
Yes.
And going on about it and thinking it's going to be the savior. Yeah. What happens to those guys if this doesn't pan out?